Heads of some of the nation's largest stock exchanges converge on Capitol Hill to discuss the future of stock markets. We'll take a look at one of those chieftains, William Donaldson of the New York Stock Exchange, to discuss the hearing. And up close, President Clinton's perplexing trade policy, with trade issues expected to dominate the agenda during President Clinton's Friday face-to-face meeting with his Japanese counterpart, Miyazawa. Economists remain confused on just what the administration's trade policy will be or not be. How to trade with Tokyo, next on Business Insiders. Welcome to Business Insiders, everyone. I'm Neil Cavuto. You know, as stock market powwows go, they don't get any headier than this one. The chieftains of the three major stock exchanges and a host of others converging in Washington to discuss the future of the markets. Joining us right now, the premier player of those premier players, the chairman and CEO of the New York Stock Exchange, William Donaldson. He's out of his home base, the New York Stock Exchange. Mr. Donaldson, good to have you with us.
Hi, Neil. How are you?
Very good, sir. What happened?
Well, we had a hearing. Basically a hearing on a subcommittee of the Congress having to do with the conditions in the equity marketplace, basically the development of equity marketplaces since the last Securities Act in 1975, and a little bit of talking about what the future held.
There is some talk, sir, and maybe you can correct me if we're getting the wrong impression, that Congress and indeed the administration is about to impose maybe sweeping oversight of the equities markets. Earlier today, for example, I had a chance to talk to the chairman of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, who has advised a cabinet-level sort of overseer of all of the financial markets, banks, insurance companies, the whole gamut. Was that discussed?
No, that wasn't discussed at all.
So can you tell me the thrust of the meeting today as far as maybe either coordination among the exchanges with the government or what?
Well, what prompted this hearing is the SEC is in midway through conducting a thing they call Market 2000, which is an examination of the marketplace for what changes might be made in the future. I think this is a parallel inquiry by basically the overseer of the SEC, the subcommittee of Congress. They brought together the chief executives of two major exchanges and the NASD. We had, as they say, a full and frank discussion of the marketplace and changes that maybe need to be made.
All right, now, a lot of criticisms have been made in the past, Mr. Donaldson, long before, in fact, you came on to take over the New York Stock Exchange, about, for example, the way the NYSE goes about business. A lot of concern about the auction system, the way it's presently handled, the way dealers and traders, for example, communicate with one another. Was that brought up, and was any criticism directly leveled at you?
No, quite the contrary. I think that what we had was a long and complete discussion on the difference between the auction market as represented here at the New York Stock Exchange and dealer markets. And what the basic point that at least I was trying to get across is that this auction market puts the investor first, as opposed to a dealer market where basically the dealer stands ahead of the individual customer. And what we're concerned about is not that there are dealer markets out there. We've lived side by side with the NASD and NASDAQ for years, but the fact that stocks listed on the stock exchange are being traded in dealer markets, and we don't think that that makes sense for the individual customer.
It doesn't make sense, obviously, for the New York Stock Exchange, does it not? After all, you have lost business precisely because the NASD has been very successful in drawing business away from you.
No, I don't think that's true. I mean, first of all, we've had the best 2 years that we've ever had. We listed 260 new companies this year, highest volume in our history, so I don't really think that we've, quote, lost business.
To be fair, sir, I think what I was saying, and I'm sorry if I didn't make it clear, that the momentum is still more in the favor of NASDAQ, more to the point, and Mr. Hardiman, than it is with you.
I don't think so. We're still trading 83% of all the trading done in listed stocks is done here at the New York Stock Exchange. Some 86% of the total value of all publicly held companies in the United States are listed here on the New York Stock Exchange. That's not, it's not an unviable business.
It's a very valid point, Mr. Donaldson. Let me ask you this, though. A lot of political goings-on here. The very purpose of this meeting raised some eyebrows on Wall Street and indeed on Main Street. Were you at all of the impression that there is some sort of pressure on the part of Congress and/or the White House to more closely regulate the securities industry as we know it, and maybe the New York Stock Exchange more specifically?
No, I don't think so. I think that there was a Securities Act passed 18 years ago. A lot has happened since that in terms of the rise of the futures markets and derivative instruments and so forth, and I think it's quite natural that it's time to take another look at the way things are organized to make sure that we're set up for the next few hundred years.
All right. Now, what a lot of people have said about